Hey guys, Dennis here, Muddy Water Search and Recovery, and I apologize if the sound isn't that good. I am sitting out on the back porch to record this. It's a beautiful evening out, so thought I would do this out here. This is a little different. Um, this is airing Sunday night, 7:30 p.m. Central Time. Normally when we try to do a live feed. Um, a couple different reasons why we didn't go live tonight is number one, as you guys know, my mom has been in a hospital since Christmas. Um, they did have to do another emergency trach here recently. Thankfully, she come through that great, has continued to improve. They went in yesterday and replaced that trach and then done some cleanup work and stuff. And today they have transferred her to a specialty hospital. So have a lot on our plate going on with that. Alex and Tammy, I don't want to get too much into their personal lives here, but they did have the death in the family. So I want to ask you guys, please keep Alex, Tammy, and their family in your thoughts and prayers. And so instead of going live, I want to do this as a video with you guys. And I want to kind of break down some of the theories in the Randy Leach case and kind of give my opinions on different things. I want you to please keep in mind, this is just my opinions. It's not facts. It's not hard proof, anything like that. But I just want to go through and discuss some of these and kind of my thought process on several of these theories. So, for those of you who may not know who Randy Leach is, Randy Leach went missing from Linwood, Kansas, April 15th. It was either the evening of April 15th or the early morning hours of April 16th, 1988. Missing out of Linwood, Kansas, 17 years old when he went missing, 6'3", 220 pounds. Also missing is his mother's gray four-door 1985 Dodge sedan that Randy was driving to the pre-graduation party the night that he went missing. He was a senior at the Linwood High School in 1988. And what I am reading right now, the source of this information is the Charlie Project. So if you just Google search Randy Leach, one of the links will be for the Charlie Project and the information they have out on Randy's. So that is the source I'm using for this particular video. He left his home around 6:30 p.m. to attend a friend's pre-graduation party in a rural area 5 miles east of the residence on April 15th, 1988. So 5 miles east of the Leach residence. I don't know if that is correct. It's pretty close if it's not, but I will get the exact distance and get that out to you guys at a later date. Before arriving at the party, he stopped at Stout's convenience store and purchased some candy, soft drinks, and gasoline. He then talked to some friends, then went to DeSoto to check on the car that he was restoring, which was, I believe, a 1966 Ford Mustang that his family had got him and was having restored as a graduation present for Randy. As a result of these errands, Randy did not arrive at the party until between 9:30 and 10 o'clock p.m., driving his mother's gray four-door 1985 Dodge sedan, and he carried approximately $50 to $60 in cash. There were between 70 and 150 guests at the party. Now, those numbers had changed back and forth drastically. So at this point, I would wager it's pretty much an unknown number of people at the party. You had people that were at the party all give significantly different numbers to how many people were there. Witnesses reported Randy was acting drunk, but it's unclear whether he actually consumed any alcohol, and he told a friend when asked what was wrong that he didn't know what was wrong. He may have left the party between 1:30 and 2 a.m., but some witnesses report seeing him there as late as 2:15 a.m., but reportedly nobody actually saw him leave. Randy never returned home and has not been heard from again. He was reported missing by his parents on April 16th. He had a 12:30 a.m. curfew at the time he vanished and usually honored it. Authorities do not believe Randy left of his own accord since he left behind the 1966 Ford Mustang he was restoring, and his friends and family said he had no plans to leave home. He wasn't sure what he wanted to do after graduating high school, but he was thinking of enrolling in trade school. I'm going to stop right here. Now, Randy did mow yards for basically side money. His dad had just bought him I believe it was a new John Deere tractor to mow with. So that's something else that Randy had gotten in that time frame that was new. In fact, the tractor was still in back of Harold's truck, which is why Randy drove Alberta Leach's vehicle to the party. Randy's father had described him as an entrepreneur and a hard worker. He was an excellent student, enjoyed outdoor pursuits, particularly fishing. Randy's mother still lives in the same house, and is hopeful someday to get answers as to Randy's fate. Unfortunately, Randy's father passed away in January of 2021. And unfortunately, he passed away not knowing where his son is. Randy was legally declared deceased in 2021. The times given, again, this is all listed on the Charlie Project's website. Through our research, talking with people who were at the party, the times listed, the number of people at the party, what time Randy arrived at the party, none of those have been consistent. There has been so many different answers with all of that. And to be quite honest, not really a way to, I guess, confirm it because there's so many inconsistencies with the numbers. It doesn't mean that anybody or everybody's lying. You know, it's been 37 years since Randy went missing. That is 37 years that everybody at the party has had to live with knowing Randy didn't make it home that night. 37 years of questions and allegations and nightmares and worry and grief and wondering. So it's only natural that, and even without all of that, 37 years from today, I'm probably not going to remember sitting here and recording this video. Megan, Chrissy, our two kids, Cheyenne and Brantley, they are out taking a walk. They've got the dogs out on leashes. Brantley's riding his bicycle. 37 years from now, I'm not going to be able to tell you that they left and went for a walk. What time did they go? What was they wearing? Did Megan have her purse? Did Chrissy have her car keys? It's just a fact of life. So it's understandable that there's so many inconsistencies with that. Are there people out there being inconsistent on purpose? I believe so, 100%. there's people that their own story has changed, and we're talking in the last handful of years. Anytime they tell the story, it's changed, inconsistent, many times just complete opposite of what was told before. Why? Are they hiding something? Are they wanting attention? Are they trying so hard to remember, but 37 years of memories in between that night and today? Are their memories unfortunately distorted and they honestly believe what they're saying? That is a real possibility here. So it's really hard to say. So I want to jump into some of these theories, and this is just a very small number of theories that are out there. But I do want to jump into some of these with you guys, kind of give my thoughts on this, and please let us know in the comments your thoughts on these. If you're not comfortable doing that, go to our website. You can contact us off of there. And if you're still not comfortable with it, we also have a P.O. box, and this will also be in the video description, that you could actually send us a letter to the P.O. box anonymously. So let us know what you think on these theories and essentially my thoughts on some of these theories. So the first one we'll jump into is Stranger Creek. Where this is significant is the old bridge there was one of the hangout spots for all the teenagers. Randy would have had to drive over the bridge over Stranger Creek to go home or to go to the party. 10 years after Randy went missing, the lead KBI agent, Dennis something or other, told I believe the Kansas City Star, that he believes that Randy had driven off into Stranger Creek, was swept out to the Kansas River, and could be as far as St. Louis by now. So let's jump into this theory. We have heard Alberta say multiple times they were in the second year of a 3-year drought. I actually contacted the NOAA and worked with them to go back in and look at the time frames, and they were in the second year of a 3-year drought. No significant rain for a significant period of time before and after April 15th, 1988. Stranger Creek was barely a trickle of water going through there. And we know through the reports that Harold Leach went to Stranger Creek looking. Many of Randy's classmates and other family members went to Stranger Creek looking. Had he had driven into Stranger Creek, his car would have still been there in the mud, and you would clearly see where the car would have went off. So even if it was just a trickle and the rest of that was dry dirt, that car would have still been sitting there. It never would have moved from that area. So I do not believe he drove off into Stranger Creek that night. If he did, why didn't they find the vehicle? They were right there. And I don't believe there's that many people going to look in that area and not find that vehicle if it was there. A handful of years ago, AWP was in the area. They run sonar up Stranger Creek in that area multiple times, and there was nothing showing up on sonar either. So I do not believe he drove off into Stranger Creek. Again, this is my opinion. It's not fact. But based off of the facts I was able to acquire, I do not believe he drove off into Stranger Creek. So next we have, did he have an accident and drive into a pond or other small body of water on his way home from the Irwin residence where the party took place? Again, we're looking at the second year of a 3-year drought. Anybody who's been around ponds, unless it's fed from an underground spring, knows that when the ground dries up, the ponds start to dry up. Not saying all the ponds were completely dry, because they wasn't. There was plenty of water there. But I don't believe he went into a pond. Several teams have been in the area running sonar on ponds. Echo Divers has just about covered every pond from the Irwin location to the Leach residence, and there's nothing showing up. Echo Diver, while he will say that some of these ponds he cannot call clear because he's not seeing the complete bottom of them, he's not seeing anything that appears to be sticking up from that. Any of them that he really questioned, you would see him on his videos on YouTube get his kayak out and run sonar to confirm that that pond was cleared. So these ponds have been looked at so many times over the years, it's hard for me to believe that he's going to be in a pond between the Irwin residence and the Leach property. Again, my personal opinion, doesn't make it fact, doesn't rule it out completely. I just don't believe that's where he would be. It doesn't mean we're not going to look there, because we will. My opinion is that's not where he would be. So, speaking of the creeks, the Kansas River Bowersock Dam up in Lawrence is upstream from the Linwood area. And it has been questioned by several people, because we do know at some point, I believe it was weeks, maybe a couple months after Randy went missing, they did open up the dam and release water to come downstream because the water levels were so low downstream. So I've had a lot of people ask me, is it possible that he could have driven off into a creek? And let's use Stranger Creek as a hypothetical example here. He drove off into there, and there's not enough water to hide the vehicle, definitely not enough to move the vehicle, but all the water rushing down the river, would that backfill up in the creeks with enough force to move that car upstream further to a location it just hasn't been found? That was a very good question. So I contacted the Bowersock Dam and discussed that very scenario with them. What I got from them is, when they release water from the dam, it continues to go straight between the riverbanks. It does not backfill the creeks. It moves downriver. As it slows down, then yes, you're going to see a little rise in the creeks, but it's not going to rise enough to cover a car. It's not even going to rise enough to move a vehicle. So I do not believe the dam releasing water would push his vehicle upstream or hide the vehicle just due to waters rising from a dam release. Simply because they were able to explain to me how the water does not backfill those creeks with that kind of force. So, again, nothing's ruled out, but my personal opinion, he's not going to be there. So next we have an accident into a bunch of brush or a ravine, something along those lines, on his way home. We have driven from the Leach residence to the Irwin residence, back and forth, any route that you can go to get there, so many times. And while we cannot rule out the possibility of that happening, we're not really seeing an area that he would have driven off the road like that, and not be found. We're not, there's not a lot of brushy areas like that. You'll see some brush that goes right into somebody's front yard. So that immediate area between the Irwin residence and the Leach residence, again, just my personal opinion, I don't think that's where he is. Next, and I do have to bring this up. From the day we started looking at the Randy Leach case until today, I have people that contact me and say, hey, look, we see in here that the Leach family refused to let another search team search their property and sonar their pond to rule that out. I've seen and heard the same stuff, but here's the thing. Not long ago, and I say not long ago, roughly a year ago, give or take, Megan and I and Alex and Tammy were in the area. We had just finished up a search for Randy Leach, and we were right down the road from the Leach residence. When we're in the area, we do like to drive past the residence, and we're not driving by it expecting to find anything there. I want to make that clear. When you're in Linwood and you're looking for Randy, you can feel it. I don't know how to explain it. Those of you who have been on a search like this, you know what I'm talking about here. You feel connected to that person. And this particular day, we went around and come up the backside. It would be Golden Road on the backside of the Leach property. And there is an opening there where you can see the pond on the Leach residence, on their property. And it was dry, hot, and that pond at the most had a few inches of water in the center. You can clearly see the bottom of anywhere a vehicle would be. I can personally confirm seeing that there's no vehicle in that pond. So I'm not even going to say just my opinion, not a fact. This one I will say was a fact because I seen it with my own two eyes. I'm not asking anybody to just take my word on it, but I seen it and Megan seen it. There is no vehicle in that pond. So I just wanted to get that out there and kind of clear that up a bit. So next, let's jump over to the Irwin property. And this does include the pond that is on that property. That pond, even today, and Alex really kind of got into this on last Sunday night's live feed. There are still people today who reach out to us and ask if the pond where the party took place had ever been searched. So, two sides of this. Number one, yes, that pond has been searched very early on into Randy's disappearance. I say early on. Wasn't really early on because that pond wasn't there when Randy went missing. I will get you guys the exact date or year that pond was put in. I want to say it was like 3 or 4 years after Randy went missing, but that pond was not on that property when Randy went missing. So Randy's not in that pond. The Irwin residents, we have seen in reports, we know the Leach family was there. Alberta's brother, Richard Rose, went to the party location on the 26th when Randy didn't come home. We've heard statements and we've read statements from people who were at the party who searched the property. They were in the house and looked. Nothing suspicious, nothing stood out. So many people searched that property that I feel if he was there, he would have been found. Now, we know that a little ways down the road, the Irwin property caught on fire. The fire was put out. Later that night, it caught on fire again and burnt to the ground. The fire marshal, and we've read the statement where it looked like somebody poured an accelerant down the hallway and set it ablaze. So immediately, there were accusations of insurance fraud. So we decided to look at that angle, and we found that the house was not insured. So to burn a house down for insurance fraud, you got to have insurance. Otherwise, you're just out money. So it wasn't insurance fraud. Was the house purposely set ablaze? To be honest with you, I don't know. According to the fire marshal's report, it appears that way. But I'm not going to say for sure one way or the other. And my personal opinion on that is just, I don't know. So next we had, did Randy leave on his own accord? Many people will say no. Many would be very adamant with saying no. I'm not going to rule it out. I will be honest with you. There are some leads that we are looking into that go along with that. Does that mean that's what happened? Absolutely not. It doesn't mean that at all. But you have to admit that's a side of the case nobody's really looked into. So we do have some leads that have come in, and we are following up on those. There may be a search in the future that we do that may surprise a lot of people, but we feel it's likely going to need to be searched, and it's going to require extensive travel. I will leave it at that. But there are some leads that have come into us we're following up on, and we'll keep you posted with what we can share. And we do any of those searches, we will be filming and bringing you guys along on those as well. So did he leave on his own accord? My personal opinion is there is a chance. It doesn't mean that's what he did, but I haven't seen anything that I will say absolutely rules this out. I haven't seen anything that says, yes, he left on his own, So I'm not saying that's what he did, but I feel that needs looked at with a lot more scrutiny than what has been done over the years. Simply because that's one of the many theories that hasn't really got a lot of attention. So let's move on. A cave. We've all heard the story of the guy that was held captive in a cave for several days. He said he saw a body hanging in the cave. It looked like the face had been smashed in, had the size and the build of Randy Leach, but he couldn't determine who that was. And he was able to escape. Had to do with satanic stuff. Seems kind of far-fetched, doesn't it? Well, I have seen the polygraph report given to that guy on that story. The questions asked, the questions answered, the results of the polygraph. And the fact is, he passed the polygraph. Now, I did see and hear that it was ruled that he may have been high and hallucinated, but he passed the polygraph, which tells us he does believe he saw what he says he saw. Was he high and hallucinating? Maybe. Did he see a body in the cave? Maybe. Was it Randy Leach? Maybe. Nothing definitive to say yes, nothing definitive to say no, but the fact that that gentleman passed a polygraph, it cannot be ruled out. That is my personal opinion when it comes to the cave theory. So moving on, next we have, and I hate to bring this one up, but I have to, and this would be self-harm. We've had people, and we've seen 2 letters that Randy allegedly wrote to Pam, his ex-girlfriend, after their breakup. If you just sat there, and this ain't the letter, but if you just sat there and you read the letter, you would feel like it was so depressed. Here's the problem with that. Was Randy depressed if and when he wrote those? Maybe. But we cannot take words written on paper and read those and believe that we knew the mindset, we knew the feelings, we knew what was going on. We can't say that we do, because I didn't know Randy Leach. I don't know what his mindset was that night. I don't know if he was depressed or not. But those letters has caused people to come out and say they believe self-harm. I don't believe that it's self-harm. You know, obviously it can't be ruled out till proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. But I haven't seen one thing that made me stop and say, hey, this might be it. I don't think it is. My personal opinion is this is not a self-harm case. I may be wrong. I don't know. But my opinion is it's not. So I mentioned this a little bit ago, and I got to bring it up again because this is one of the longest running theories in the Randy Leach case, is that he fell victim to some ritual, some sacrifice in a satanic sacrifice ritual, I guess you would say. There, in the 1980s, there was a huge scare when it comes to the rise of satanic, let's call them organizations, for lack of a better word. And if somebody listened to rock and roll, they were automatically labeled as Satanists. If the guy had long hair, he's a Satanist. You know, if somebody wore black, they were a Satanist. It was almost a panic in that time frame. So when you have something that is so popular, so scary, that people are already panicking, then you have a missing teenager, and people start bringing satanic theories into it, it doesn't take long for that theory to explode and travel like wildfire. Do I think Randy's disappearance had anything to do with the satanic sacrifice? I do not. We have had many sources reach out claiming different things with this theory. None of those have panned out. In fact, most of those we were able to debunk. Maybe someday we can go into detail of those with you guys. At the moment, we will not. But my personal opinion is satanic stuff had nothing to do with Randy's case. That brings me to the very last theory that I want to discuss on this video. This is a theory that we started having people reach out to us almost from day one. And this is family involvement. As a disclaimer, and to be honest with you right off the bat, I do not believe Randy's family had anything to do with it if Randy is deceased. They had no part of that. They have fought for 37 years and some months now to bring their son home. So no, I do not believe they were involved in any of that. The number one reason people have said that they felt there was a chance was the fact that they were refusing to let their property, their pond singular, be searched. I agree it is questionable. I would think they would have wanted it done to put an end to those rumors so the focus can shift to what actually happened. But here's the thing that nobody takes into account. This is their son that's missing. Their only child, their miracle child that's missing. We all like to think, if I was in their shoes, I would do this. Do you know for sure that that's what you would do? You might think you do. I might think I do. But unless you're walking into those shoes, you do not honestly know what you would do. You don't know if you would do anything any different than what the Leach family did. I don't know if I would do anything different than what the Leach family did. And when you look at the 37 years of work they have put in to find Randy, to find answers, to bring their son home, how anybody can still say family involvement, in my opinion, you're not digging deep enough into the case. Any true crime mystery, it's easy to find something simple, take it at face value, and build your whole theory based off of that. 99.99999% of the time, you're wrong. You have to dig deeper into it. If it was something that was that simple, Randy would have been found a long time ago. Randy's family has done nothing but try to find their son. We may not always agree with methods, means, different aspects, but that doesn't make them wrong. It doesn't make them guilty of anything but being grieving family members looking for their son. So I want to get that out there pretty heavy. Did we have to look into that angle? Of course we did. Now, keep in mind, we don't dig into these cases to try to find who's guilty, who's not. We look into these cases to determine if so and so may be involved in this case. What locations do we need to look at that we need to get on the search to see if that person's there? No, when it comes to guilt, we're not a judge, we're not a jury. It's not our place to determine guilt. It is our place to look for the missing loved ones and bring them home. And that is what the Leach family has done for over 37 years. They have searched for their missing loved one, their son. I can't imagine what Alberta goes through. And I've talked about it before. Early on with Muddy Water Search and Recovery, my wife Megan and I got the invite to meet with Alberta, Betty, and Larry at Alberta's residence. We obviously went. We sat down at the kitchen table with them. We discussed the case. When I tell you, you can feel a mother's love radiating off of Alberta, that's just the only way I know to explain it. You can feel the love in that house. And what she has been through, nobody should ever have to go through. I gave her my word sitting at her kitchen table that I would not stop. Muddy Water Search and Recovery would not stop looking for Randy until Randy Leach has been found and brought home. That is a commitment and a promise that I hold dear. Every member of our team holds dear, and a promise that we are living up to, and we will not stop until Randy's brought home. The Randy Leach case is the case that brought about the formation of Muddy Water Search and Recovery. And we will not stop. We will not stop. This isn't the last video or live feed that you are going to see from us on this case. We are going to have another full-on open discussion on the Randy Leach case. I will get the date released to you guys as soon as possible, so you guys can be ready for that as well. Over 37 years, 17 years old. Guys, we cannot stop. We cannot slow down. Randy deserves to be found. His family deserves answers. They deserve the right to lay their son to rest with dignity, with honor, with pride, with love, and respect. Let's continue to do everything we can to bring this young man home. Till next time, you guys stay safe.